beat. Bangalore is all decked up to welcome 26 opposition parties who are converging at the Taj Hotel in the city. Now, all these opposition parties will be brainstorming and they will try and seal the nuts and bolts of the opposition alliance. Now, the official meeting is tomorrow morning, which begins somewhere around 11 a.m., but number of leaders have already arrived in Bangalore. And what we are told is that there is going to be an informal meeting followed by a dinner hosted by Chief Minister Siddaramaiah. But the million-dollar question is that what will be the outcomes of tomorrow's meeting? What we have come to know so far, there was a press conference which was held by Jairam Ramesh and KC Venugopal at 11 in the morning, this morning only, where, again, this is source-based, and what all the websites are reporting that there could be 3-4 things, and rather some announcements could come tomorrow. First information, what we are getting, again, it's through the sources within the Congress, that a name of the alliance could be announced, which means that maybe that UPA's name is changed. Second, there could be some consensus on the seat sharing formula. Now, what that announcement will be, in what shape, in what form will it be, we do not know, but there is something we could hear on the seat sharing formula. Then we are hearing about 3 working groups. Again, an announcement could be made on that. First working group, of course, would be on the drafting of the common minimum program. The second working group, we are told, could be about the communication points of this opposition alliance. And third, of course, would be chalking out the joint campaign, as in the rallies, the agitations, the conventions, which will be planned in the coming months by the opposition. But as we are talking, we also know that NDA also has called in a meeting of its partners tomorrow. Now, the million-dollar question which we are asking, that who is worried? Is it the BJP or the opposition? I'm joined by a special panel. I'm joined by Sandeep Phukan, who's a senior editor with the Hindu. Thank you so much, Sandeep. I'm joined by Sharad Gupta, who's again a senior journalist and editor. Thank you so much. We have Puneet Nicholas Yadav with us, senior editor with the Federal. And we have Siddharth Sharma, who's the political commentator, joining us from Bangalore. All of you, a very big welcome on the Federal. And let me begin with Sandeep Phukan. Sandeep, what are you hearing as far as the outcomes of tomorrow's meeting are concerned? And are we going to expect any kind of maybe some kind of an announcement today, or all the action is going to be seen tomorrow?
No, today an announcement is unlikely. Today, essentially, leaders are arriving in Bangalore and in Bengaluru. And as you pointed out, the Chief Minister of Karnataka, Mr. Siddaramaiah, is hosting a dinner for all the opposition leaders. And prior to that dinner, of course, all the opposition leaders will have an informal get-together of sorts where they would be discussing politics, of course. But as far as a more structured, agenda-based discussion is concerned, that will take place tomorrow on the 18th. And we've also heard similar things on, one-on-one formula that Nitish Kumar had first come up with in his meeting with Mr. Kharge and Rahul Gandhi a couple of months ago. In fact, in May, when he met them, he had proposed this, that wherever possible, the opposition should field a joint candidate, a common candidate against the BJP. Then there were other things like a common minimum program. This was something that was raised by many members. So this was raised in the Patna meeting also by members, by leaders like Uddhav Thackeray, because you see, many of these political parties who have come together, they have they don't have much in common. So they'll have to actually create a common ground. Not long ago, one would have thought that CPIM and CPI would be in alliance with the Uddhav Thackeray Shiv Sena, but that has happened so far. The common factor being NCP and the Congress, but now the NCP has split. So these issues will need some fine-tuning for sure. And that's why a common minimum program. In my own assessment, Neelu, I think what is most likely, I don't think we will hear very bold announcements at this stage. And I can sort of go state by state why there are many problems in terms of having common candidates in states, even though Mr. Nitish Kumar has suggested that. But what you can expect is that announcements of some smaller working groups who will be fine-tuning these issues. One thing I can share is that there is a common assessment by many members of the opposition that there could be a move by the government to advance the Lok Sabha elections. And that is the reason why you see all these people getting together. I mean, Nitish Kumar had taken this initiative and had met Mr. Kharge and Mr. Rahul Gandhi at Mr. Kharge's residence in May. And today is 17th July, and this is already this is the second big meeting of opposition parties. And this is, if you add the formal and informal meetings, this is the fourth meeting. So there is a sense of urgency, and the opposition, Nitish Kumar, has actually publicly articulated. He has said in Bihar that there is no guarantee that 2024 elections will take place in 2024. It could be advanced before its schedule, that is May 2024. And that is why the opposition parties want some kind of consensus in, a broad consensus in many areas, in as many areas as it can sort of work out at this stage. Neelu?
Right. But as you pointed out, Sandeep, that, the one-on-one formula might not work in various states. And if I may come to Sharadji, what are the challenges which you really see as far as the 1:1 formula is concerned? Because that's going to be the basic fulcrum. Of course, the broad consensus will be that, you have to speak in one voice on various other issues which the opposition has highlighted. But the workable formula, which is the 1:1 formula, which is like a thorny issue, do you think that in all the 543 seats, there could be a consensus on this 1:1 formula and all the opposition parties will gladly accept the formula? Or is it really a tough task for the opposition to thrash out?
It is indeed a tough task because there are a number of states where there are issues. There are parties other than BJP and Congress which are major players. Like, for example, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, Odisha, West Bengal. West Bengal, Mamata Banerjee is not going to side with, not going to contest alongside Congress and left, because she wants to contest alone. She wants to contest maximum number of seats and win maximum number of seats so that she can have a major say in parliament also. Same thing is there in Odisha also. Odisha, Naveen Patnaik wants to contest maximum number of seats. It doesn't see BJP as such a threat as Congress. So, similar number of states, even UP, is nobody is ready to accommodate Congress, neither PSP nor Samajwadi Party. So one-on-one formula is not going to succeed in many states. But yeah, in maximum number of places, they want to have this one-on-one formula. And the good thing is that Congress is ready to take a step backwards. So it's ready to accommodate a slightly lesser number of seats where the regional parties or some other parties are dominant players. But it would like to have major say in areas where it has a dominant presence. For example, in Rajasthan, there are so many states where the Congress is the major player, and it will not like to accommodate any other regional party in those states where it has a major presence. So I think they are going to flash out some formula which may satisfy not immediately tomorrow or maybe even next meeting, but gradually they are going to evolve on some consensus where they can offer this one-on-one contest.
Right. Right. Okay. Now, Puneet, tomorrow is also a day when NDA has called its partners for a meeting. Now, what is the idea behind? And people are talking about the fact that is BJP really worried the manner in which all the opposition parties have got together and they are speaking in one voice? Is that a reason for BJP to worry? Or BJP is just ready its own the firepower for the coming elections so that it can add extra seats to its kitty for 2024 elections? How would one see that?
Well, I think, Neelu, the issue here is that you're about 10 months away from the next general elections. And as Sandeep was saying, there is a real fear among the opposition parties that the elections may be advanced. And there is, in that case, if it is advanced, the BJP is not a party that believes in taking chances with its electoral prospects. It goes, we've all known over the last, at least since 2014, that they do not leave any scope for an error, so to speak, in their electoral preparations. So while the BJP may still be convinced of its ability to, form the government on its own, or be in a pole position with regard to the election as opposed to the opposition, there are various states where they also foresee problems. These may be problems due to anti-incumbency. These may be problems due to social unrest, or due to the changing, shape of the political landscape in those, those states. For Bihar being a prime example, or Maharashtra being another example, or now with the situation in the Northeast. So these are naturally areas that the BJP would have factored in and preempted the kind of losses that it might suffer if it continues to function the way it has over the last 8 or 9 years, with no regard for who's part of the NDA, or who's friendly to the BJP or not. Mr. Jairam Ramesh in the morning, when he was addressing the media, he wasn't very off the mark when he said that it's only with a year left to the elections that Mr. Modi has suddenly remembered the NDA, because the government, and I'm sure the semantics won't change dramatically, but the BJP has made it a habit of not using the word NDA to describe its government. So far, it's either described as Pradhan Mantri Narendra Modi ki sarkar, or simply a BJP government. But then now they realize that there are states where they will need allies. I wouldn't go as far as to say that they are scared of the opposition coming together. I do not think that the BJP is extremely rattled. They would certainly be a little nervous about certain states and some areas, but that is where you see them making all kinds of things that are not kosher also, but those kind of efforts to keep its bolster its ranks, and also give the impression that if the opposition is coalescing around and an anti-BJP front is coming together, the BJP also has its own set of allies. So I think those are basically issues of the perception that both the sides are trying to build up. One of a front coming together of pretty much all regional parties, all the political outfits in different states, which are a very formidable opposition to the BJP. And on the other, the BJP also shoring up its ranks with new allies, or by breaking the allies of who are part of the opposition at the moment. So I think that is how the meeting scheduled by the BJP of the NDA tomorrow. It's in that light that one needs to see it, not so much as Mr. Modi being too scared of what's happening in the opposition. And of course, there's no denying that despite the the massive increase in the BJP's electoral footprint over the last 9 years, there are still regions and there are still states where the BJP still needs to ride pillion to more dominant parties, or even if they're not dominant parties, then at least parties that have some roots in those in the politics of those states. So if the BJP needs to stoop to conquer, I don't think it's going to shy away from doing that. And an example of that could be how they've managed to rope in even like parties which may not be able to give them more than 2, 3, or 4 MPs, such as an Om Prakash Rajbhar in UP, or Chirag Paswan in Bihar, etc. So these are small numbers, but they add up in the ultimate tally, and the BJP would not want to just let them slide away.
Absolutely. Siddharth, I was talking to you on the phone this morning when we were talking about 2 things. One is an electoral advantage, and you also talk about an emotional advantage, which the 2 alliances probably could side with. Now, if I may ask you specifically, how do you see the things unfolding in terms of narrative, in terms of, the numerical advantage, the emotional advantage, as far as both the alliances are concerned, NDA and all the opposition parties, the 26 parties? Yes.
Yeah, let us start that it is no secret that different political parties from across the spectrum, from one extreme of the spectrum to the other extreme, do come together. Earlier, BJP and the communist parties have come together twice, once during 1977 and once during 1989. And both the times they came against authoritarianism. So it's very simple. An analogy can be drawn that I may have a difference of opinion with my neighbor in my society, in my residential colony, but if a rabid dog comes into my residential colony, both of us come together to shoo it away. It's as simple as that. Everyone can understand that. Now, in a democracy, there is a strange dichotomy in democracy. Democracy is essentially mathematics, wherein 51 becomes 100 and 49 remains as 0. That is the mathematics of democracy. That is how a governments are formed. 51 becomes 100 and 49 remains as 0. But the other part of the dichotomy is that you don't get a vote according to mathematics. You derive a vote, you get a vote according to the emotions. So the narrative is very important. A voter votes on emotions, but once that vote is cast, the governments are formed based on mathematics. So I will first try to give the mathematical part and then come to the emotional part. The mathematics right now in India is very simple. As of today, the present day, this federal front that is meeting in Bangalore, the conclave that they are going to have today and tomorrow, they are government. They are running a government in 11 states in India, and they are the principal opposition in 12 states. That's very clear. This federal front is a government in 11 Indian states, and they are the principal opposition in 12. That makes them 23. And on the other hand, the BJP plus, the BJP front, as of now in India, they have a government in 9 states and they are principal opposition in 11. That makes them 20. So as of today, mathematically, the federal front in Bangalore conclave is stronger numerically than the BJP. Now that aside, that is as of today. But this whole exercise is for the upcoming Lok Sabha elections. And this upcoming Lok Sabha elections is not going to happen on the mathematics that you have today. It will be, the results will come out based on the narrative that these people set and the emotional pitch that these people give, so that the voters vote for them. So how do a voter vote? What is the emotional part of it? Now I'll try to tell the emotional part. When power starts centralizing in a democracy, then all the units become slowly overloaded. And once they become overloaded in such a situation, chaos arises. And once the chaos arises, there is a desire for some strict disciplinarian to come and tighten the screws of everyone. That is the desire of the people. Now, in order to tighten more, the power starts to centralize more and more. That is why they need more power to punish others. At this point, people start getting worried that instead of tightening, it is better that I have some kind of system wherein the government starts delivering to me rather than punishing me. So BJP today stands for punishment, teaching people a lesson, teaching everybody a lesson. Whereas the Federal Front right now stands for service and delivery. So the point is, in the upcoming Lok Sabha elections, if the Federal Front is successful in syncing this narrative with the people that they stand for delivery, they stand for services, whereas BJP stands for punishment, BJP stands for teaching a lesson, I think the next Lok Sabha elections will throw up, may well throw up very surprising and shocking results to a few people. Now, obviously, for all these things, the political parties will have certain, there will be constitutional arguments to it, there will be historical arguments to it. I was just giving the macro picture, and I think that is what in Bangalore these political parties will come up with, that what should be our narrative. So the simplified, when I say narrative, it is a simplified narrative which they can reach out to a voter, not a very exhaustive constitutional, technico-legal thing. I think they will arrive at this by end of tomorrow.
No, I'm sure that all the political parties will try and simplify the issues for the people and will ensure that the discussion amongst the people doesn't remain an academic discussion. But Sandeep, I'll come to you with your initial point, which you said that the Lok Sabha elections might be held earlier. Now, if that becomes a possibility, and given the kind of planning which BJP and the opposition parties are involved in at the moment, who do you think really stands at an advantage? Supposing if it is advanced by maybe 1 or 2 months or 3 months, we do not know. But in terms of narratives, in terms of their planning, who stands an advantage?
No, look, the point is that this is not what I said. This is what the assessment is. This is what has been publicly articulated by Bihar Chief Minister Nitish Kumar, who has actually taken the lead of bringing all these opposition parties together. If you ask me who stands at an advantage at this stage, there are many things that aren't going very well for the government at this stage. Inflation is one of them. The opposition has been highlighting again and again on the issue of unemployment, even though government does not agree, but we do come across visuals of youngsters protesting in Madhya Pradesh, in Bhopal, in Indore. So, the problem persists. And even the government acknowledges in some indirect way, because, the Prime Minister has been holding these Rozgar Melas, where he actually hands out appointment letters to the beneficiaries. So there is, an acknowledgement of the fact that they will have to do well on these fronts. And price rise, we all know that if elections are held today, and we saw earlier in history, we've seen how onion prices actually brought down a government in Delhi, a BJP government at that. So I actually entirely agree with what Puneet had said, that BJP does not leave anything to chance. This is a government that they always talk about, Modi government, as Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government. Their slogans also say Modi hai to mumkin hai. But at the same time, they wouldn't want to leave some state unaddressed. Maharashtra is one case in point, for example. Of the 48 seats in the last Lok Sabha elections, in alliance with the Shiv Sena, they had won 41. But now, 41 out of 48. But now, will the same picture get repeated? No. Why? Because if that was their assessment, then they would not have, welcomed Mr. Ajit Pawar. The Shinde government is not in any kind of trouble. The fact that Ajit Pawar has been brought in to their side means that they want comfort in numbers, strength in numbers. And that's why this entire exercise of getting 30 parties together. In fact, just this morning, Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge reminded that not too long ago, the Prime Minister had said in Parliament that "Main akela hi kafi hu." I alone am sufficient to deal with the entire opposition. Why is it that he is now calling a meeting of 38 parties? I mean, this may be rhetoric, but the fact is that BJP will, even if one seat is added to the kitty, it would be welcome. So whether it's Chirag Paswan or Om Prakash Rajbhar, they would be welcoming them. As far as my understanding goes, elections in India have become very presidential in nature, and the BJP will try its best to make it an election between Mr. Modi versus who. Okay. And when that happens, then that is where the opposition may have a problem, because they will have to come up with a name. And they have a actually problem of plenty, because there are so many who are prime ministerial hopefuls, from Nitish Kumar to Mamata Banerjee. And as Sharad said, that Congress has actually conceded and it has agreed to play a secondary role in bringing these opposition parties together. But when it comes to prime ministership, let's just assume that should there be a situation where the Congress is the single largest party in that group, will they so easily give up their position, their claim to that position, that is? So all these issues are there. My understanding is that the opposition, that is why, will not try to make it a leadership contest. Rather, they would try to make it an election where these issues are addressed. For example, by their insistence on caste census. Now, again, my understanding is that BJP's great achievement in 2014 and 2019 election was that all the subcastes were subsumed under one single umbrella, Hindu identity. By trying to remind different caste groups in different states, look, what have you got under this regime for 10 years? The opposition is actually, in a way, it's divisive politics, but opposition is also trying to prevent the consolidation of this single Hindu identity. Right. And many other issues, so they will be issue specific instead of a sort of referendum on leadership. Because if that referendum of leadership happens, clearly Mr. Modi stands head and shoulders above all others. Yeah. Right now. Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Sharaji, the question, the point which Sandeep just raised, that opposition will try and make it an election which is based on issues rather than making it an election of leadership. But when will the opposition really address the leadership issue? Because at some point of time, it will have to deal with this question. No matter how long it wants to postpone and no matter what kind of a campaign it builds up. But how soon will the opposition be in a position to declare their candidate? Will it be before elections, or they'll arrive at some point, after the elections? How do you see that?
My understanding is that all the political parties and Congress, they all are going to contest the seats they have been allotted during the distribution with full might. They like to win as many seats as they can and defeat the BJP first. That will be their first agenda. The second agenda will be to elect a leader and form a government on common minimum program. But that will happen only after the results are announced. Before the results, I don't see any party rather imposing its own leader as the leader of the whole group. But things happen like today also, Mr. Nitish Kumar, while leaving for Bengaluru, so he made a small tweet saying, "देश की खुशहाली का संकल्प नीतीश मिशन ही सबसे बेहतर विकल्प." Means Nitish Kumar's model is the best for the country. So basically, trying to position himself as the leader of the group, opposition conglomeration. So that does happen. But I don't think that this is the general mood of the opposition. It could be, say, from one of the activists or maybe with his consent, his consent also. But these things are bound to happen in a group where there are more than 20, 25, 30 parties. So these things will happen, and until they can sit together and sort out such problems. But I don't think consensus is emerging on one name before the elections. The election results are announced.
Puneet, also one point which I missed out all this while was that there are parties like BRS, there are parties like BJD, TRS as well. Where are they going to be in this entire scheme of things as far as NDA and the opposition parties are concerned? Will they maintain their distance, or will they keep waiting and watch and how the things unfold, and then probably they'll come at some conclusion?
Neelu, if the past is any indicator, I for one believe that these parties will maintain their equidistance from both the formations, particularly Mr. Naveen Patnaik and also most likely whether it's Jagan Mohan Reddy or even KCR, who has been breathing fire at both these formations, at the Congress and the BJP. But then I do not think that these are parties which will join officially any either of these two formations. And in a sense, I think it's one of the reasons why, when you're talking about opposition unity and this talk keeps coming up of a consensus candidate against the BJP's official nominee on each of the constituencies, etc. I think it needs to be qualified that and I've spoken to several leaders in the opposition who've been part of these back channel talks for some time now, who say that right from the word go, the idea was, while they all ideally want a consensus candidate, a common consensus candidate against the official BJP nominee, they've also naturally, these are politicians. They know their craft much more than we do, as people who are basically pencil pushers. But they've done their own calculations, and they think that they need to see realistically what is possible, and it's no secret that there are various elements within this joint opposition, who are very wary of each other and very doubtful, suspicious of the intent of the other. So they've done their own calculations, and from what I heard from some of these leaders was that their back of the envelope calculations were that they can realistically think of putting a consensus candidate on roughly around 300 to 350 seats, out of the 543, and so naturally they're not counting, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, your Orissa, these states, as well as states where they think, like for instance, in UP, which has 80 seats, even if by some stroke of luck the joint opposition thing works out, you will still have a Mayawati contesting separately. So technically, that is not a one-on-one contest again, So now the challenge then for the opposition is, one, you need to come to an agreement on this kind of a formula of the seat sharing, whether it's 300 seats, 350 seats, 400 seats. That's something that you'll get to know by and by. But also, as Sandeep was saying, ensure that the election does not become a Modi versus who election and is rooted on issues. And the opposition, I believe, of late has done a fairly good job of bringing relevant issues to the forefront. They need to certainly do much more on that. But that is, I think, the core thrust of these dialogues. Of course, Patna was more of an icebreaker. The the meeting in Bangalore, I would say, is where you'll have at least the first round of an actionable plan coming forward, and then they will tweak it, improvise on it as more dialogues happen in the future. Because what you're seeing today in Bangalore, this image of unity may also change a little, moving forward as they, finally set about with the nuts and bolts of the plan.
Absolutely.
So there are a lot of ponderables for the opposition, and those will be discussed. So I do not think that you should expect any major outcomes in terms of with some degree of finality, but you'll still see some concrete suggestions with a scope of fluidity to them.
Right, absolutely. Okay, so whatever we've discussed so far, now Siddhartha, I'll come for the concluding comments to you. That would it be right to say that 2024 will not be an easy election for Narendra Modi, no matter how comfortable and how confident they might sound?
As of today, the numbers seem to be stacked against the BJP. The Bangalore conclave is very clear that the federal front has 23 states or 20 states that presents a very strong footprint, either a government or as a main opposition party is in 23, while the BJP.
Are you saying that tomorrow's meeting could also end up looking like a show of strength on both sides?
Yes, it will be. Tomorrow it will be a show of strength. That is why even both the fronts, even in Bangalore, even very small political parties which are not part of either the government or either are not main opposition parties, they are also being invited to Bangalore, and they are also given their pride of place. The same thing is happening with the NDA too. The BJP, which had basically forgotten NDA, is now remembering it. So that is essentially a show of strength.
Right.
Now the game would be what will be the narrative, because there are so many issues that when you BJP or anybody would be very happy if the opposition is confused with so many issues that everyone starts speaking about that. If there is a saying that too many cooks spoil the broth. So how does the opposition simplify the narrative and sync it with the people that if you go for BJP, this is what you're going to get, and if you go for federal front, this is what you are going to get, some kind of service or delivery from a government. If you go with BJP, it will tighten the screw on others, but if you go with us, we will try to bring some kind of semblance of welfareism to you. Is it possible that the federal front comes up with that kind of a simplified narrative? That is going to be the key, and I think that is what these people are going to thrash out today in Bengaluru.
All eyes now, of course, would be on what the outcomes of tomorrow's meeting will be, and you'll have to stay tuned to the Federal. Tomorrow again, we'll be discussing according to whatever press conferences happen and whatever we hear from the opposition parties. Thank you so much, Sandeep Phukan, Sharadji. It was wonderful having you on the program. Siddharth, Puneet, it was wonderful to have you on the program too. And one appeal to the viewers who are watching this panel discussion, subscribe to our channel.